This is not going to be my normal video. Normally I'm making videos for the youth to recap what Brad taught for the week or share something that God's put on my heart. But this video is more for the ladies. Guys, you can watch too, and youth, please watch, because there's definitely a message in here for you. Tuesday night we were dealing with the word submit. We are going through the resolutions book, and one of our resolutions was to submit. And I could hear the rustling in the room. I could hear people sitting up a little straighter, and I could hear the struggle. One, because it's a struggle that I share with you. This is a tough subject. I shared a little bit of my history with you guys on Tuesday night. I'm going to share a little right now, just in case you weren't there. I grew up with very strong women. I grew up with women who had opinions, who were self-sufficient, who taught me to be a strong woman, to not let a man repress you. Don't be vulnerable to men because they will hurt you. That whole message was reinforced when some men in my life actually did hurt me, and just made it even more like, if you let them, they'll walk all over you, use you and abuse you. And I just had this really distorted picture. So then, you get married and you want to raise your kids in a Bible-believing home. And this verse comes and slaps you in the face. Wives, submit to your husbands. Really? Why in the world did I, grow up to have an opinion? Why do I have a brain if he's the only one who's going to use it? I just picture this Stepford wife. I just picture this opinionless drone. And that is not at all who I want to be. I know I have a call of God on my own life. I have my own ambitions and desires. And I am not going to just sit back and be quiet. So, as I was trying to understand this, because like I said, I really wanted to raise my family in a godly home. He's brought so much clarity in this to me, partly because I do have an amazing husband who, even when I talked to him about this Tuesday night, he's like, you know what, that verse has been so taken out of context. It's all about communication. If you're communicating with your wife, then you'll understand her view when you are, supposed to take the, be the authority. So that just kind of helped reinforce why I love him. Love you, babe. But like he said, this verse has definitely been taken out of context. And I was trying to rack my brain of where it was in the Bible on Tuesday night, so I could put it in context. But I did find it after, because I could not sleep that night. I was just like, we prayed for a new word for submit, because that word just has such negative connotation. I'm not going to for a second sit here and tell you that this idea has been played out well in history, because if it had, we wouldn't have the issue with it that we do. It's definitely been taken out of context, been used to abuse women, to mistreat them, to tell them, they're second-class citizens. It has been extremely perverted. But I encourage you, in spite of the past, take God and His Word for today, because that's not what He meant. And I'm hoping that this video will help shed some light on that. But first, I want to put this whole idea into context. I'm going to read you the verse that this comes out of. It's Ephesians 5, verses 22 through 33. Wives, submit to your husbands as to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, His body, of which He is the Savior. Now as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to their husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave Himself up for her, to make her holy, cleansing her by the washing with water through the word, and to present her to Himself as a radiant church, without stain or wrinkle or any other blemish, but holy and blameless. In this way, husbands ought to love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. After all, no one ever hated his own body, but he feeds and cares for it, just as Christ does the church. for we are members of his body. For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. This is a profound mystery, but I am talking about Christ and the church. However, each of you must also love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. Now, a man's need to be respected is absolutely God-given, and this verse proves it. They want to feel like you respect and honor them. That's how he made them. We are one flesh. I love the part where it says, for nobody hates his own body. I just picture like someone, punching themselves out and like abusing themselves. Also, I have crazy visions in my head. I'm just telling you. I picture 2 feet going opposite ways because they both think that they know the better road to take. But we are created as one flesh once we become husband and wife. So can you just picture, if you're pulling one way and he's pulling another, how funny that would look in one body? Also, the profound mystery that marriage is actually an earthly picture for the world to see the sacrifice that God made for us. He instituted marriage to show the world what it would look like. For God to sacrifice his son, to love the world more than he loved himself and give of himself to that. For Christ to submit to his Father. I absolutely 100% believe that Jesus came willing to sacrifice his life for us so that we could become in right relationship with God, so that we could have freedom, so that we can have our salvation. I absolutely believe he 100% came of his free will. But there's also a verse in the Bible when he's getting ready to be given up where he says, if this cup can pass, let it. That showed his human side of it where he was kind of like, did we really explore every avenue to get them back into right relationship with us? Like, is there some other way where we might have missed it just a little bit? You sure that I have to go through all this suffering? But even though he was having reservations about it, he still submitted to his Father's will, and he walked that road to Calvary. I get so weepy when I think about that. He walked the road to Calvary, and he gave his life for us. It's such a beautiful picture. So marriage, is supposed to model that. I kind of see it like a recycle sign. God sacrificed. Jesus submitted. Right relationship for us. Marriage. Husbands sacrifice for their wives. Wives respect their husbands. Families are whole. If you could picture that with me. So that's the context of the verse. So here's my crazy God-given vision for submit, because we prayed for a different word, because the word submit automatically makes us like, no, I don't want to do it. Just automatically brings all these negative thoughts. I didn't get a different word, but I got this amazing visual. And one of the translations, I'm pretty sure it says yield. Wives, yield to your husbands. So I'm picturing 2 cars, and the sign says yield, it's for you to slow down and let the other one go ahead. And so then I was picturing this canal that Brad and I used to walk. We were in a really tough place in our marriage at the time, and there was not a lot of communication going on. So we decided that we were going to walk this canal and figure it out. So at first it was kind of like disagreeing or arguing, and then as it ended up being a year of us doing this walking, as the time went on, it was more communicating, and it was more of us sharing ideas. Hey, what's your thought on what we should do with this kid? Disciplinary. Hey, what's your vision for the next 5 years? It became this real fellowship, this real communication. So I had that picture in my mind of us in that year totally fellowshipping, totally communicating. And then all of a sudden, got a vision, remember, we have these backpacks on. And I have water, he has water. He has food, I have food. He has the tent, I have the tent stakes. He has the sleeping bag, I have the pot to cook in. He's got the matches, and I've got the first aid kit. We each have some of the same things, but some of the different things, but everything necessary for survival. So we're heading into the mountains, and we're talking about how the journey's going to look, what we're going to do along the way, what we're going to see. And then all of a sudden the road gets really, really narrow, where one of us is going to have to walk in front of the other to get through this. And this is where God tells me, it's the wife's job to yield and let the husband walk in front of her in those moments when the road gets narrow. And he's got to blaze the trail for the family in those situations. That's what a submitted wife looks like. Someone who lets her husband go ahead and blaze the trail. And at this same spot where the road gets narrow, there was like a drop off. And if I try to veer around him, I'm going to fall. Or if I fight him for the lead in there, one of us is going to stumble and fall and get hurt. So, absolutely have to let him go ahead and me walk behind. And then I also thought, how tough would it be to be the man in that situation, to be in a journey that you don't know about, you don't know the right way to go, and you have all these people depending on you and following behind you, and it's your job to keep them safe. That's a huge pressure, one that probably weighs heavily on them at times. And while they're leading and while they're doing this, if you're behind him nagging, telling him how you'd have done it better, or you should have done it this way, or in his ear, he's probably going to stumble 10 times more because you're distracting him. But if you're being his champion behind him, encouraging him, lifting him up in prayer, whatever, your journey is going to be a whole lot easier. And he's going to come out of it a better man for it. Your strength is absolutely shown the most when you are a supporter and a victor for your husband. You are his absolute champion. That's where your strength is shown. And then I pictured, okay, so we got through this narrow part and the road starts getting a little wider again. And we get to talk about how we survived it, how we worked things out, how cool it was when he did this, and how awesome it was when he stumbled, I helped catch him. And then we get to share this view of this beautiful mountain that we just conquered. That is the picture of marriage, guys. That is what this verse is talking about as a submitted wife. I hope that makes sense. I hope you hear me. For you singles, this is not a verse to just skip over because you're not married, you're not a wife. This is absolutely a heads up for you guys. When you are choosing your mate, when you're choosing your husband, make sure you're not choosing someone who has all the same things as you, because then you're not going to have something you need in this journey to survive. Or make sure you don't choose someone so opposite of you that he annoys you the whole darn time. You need to find that balance of person, that partner that is going to just complement you in style. You guys have some of the same things and you have some different things, but each thing necessary for survival. The wives, submit to your husbands as to the Lord. For you singles, the only person you have to submit to, besides some earthly authorities, is the Lord. This is an absolute practice for you to become that wife that you want to be, is listening to God, following his lead, submitting to his authority. When the road gets narrow, you look to him for your guidance. This is not at all a past day for you guys, these verses. This is absolutely a heads up. You guys have such an advantage in this area, because when you are looking for that spouse, make sure you find somebody who you trust to blaze the trail for you, who you trust that when the road gets narrow, he's going to be able to lead you through. Also, I think it's really cool for you singles, because God's your ultimate authority, and that's who you submit to, and you don't have to do his laundry. So I hope this helps some of you guys. I know it helped me. I'm thankful for it, and I'm thankful for you guys. Love you. See you soon.